love the alcohol, la 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 la. Just line 'em up and we will drink them all, la 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 la. But my mother always said, if you want to drink all day, you best start in the morning, son, 'cause that's the Irish way. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, and every other mother will agree. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, so order up around for you and me. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, and every mother must agree. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, so order up around for you and me, and you and me, and you and me. Let there be whiskey.
Hey everybody! Welcome to Nerds with Alcohol. I'm Chris.
I'm Russ.
And this is episode 262.
262, back in the virtual nerd basement, guys. It's great to be back. We had a very kind of out of the ordinary thing last week. We didn't have our show because we were on somebody else's show.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. But it is great to be back in the saddle.
Yep, back in the basement.
Yes, back in the basement. It has been I've had an interesting week. How is yours?
It wasn't really all that interesting. It was a lot of the same stuff. Doing stuff. I haven't played a lot of Skyrim. I haven't had a lot of time. I've been trying to do a lot of other things. As well, like studying and actually bettering myself. But I did play Skyrim the other night and got this really cool looking sword.
What sword is it?
It's the one from Meridia that she gives you when you kill that.
Oh, the Daybreaker. You got the Daybreaker?
Yeah.
That's a good sword.
Oh yeah, I'm like, oh, it's a one-handed weapon. Does 30 damage. Holy shit.
It's a good sword, and it's great against, particularly in the undead.
Yeah.
And I carried the Daybreaker for quite a while, and would pull it out specifically when I was fighting any of the undead, and particularly the stronger Draugr that you find, the Draugr overlords and stuff like that in the various dungeons and stuff, and the crypts and things.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, once you get you'll unlock the ability to improve magic items. You can improve it.
Okay.
Using have you gotten to that where you're using the grinding wheels and to make your weapons better?
I learned how to do it. I haven't done it yet.
Okay. So that's definitely something that's a big part of the whole smithing thing, is not just making the weapons and armor, but also improving them. So you use the armor bench to improve your armor pieces, and the weapon, it's the
what's up, CD?
Sandstone. Hey, CD. Using the grinder to improve your weapons as well.
Yeah, right now I'm wearing elven armor with an elven shield. I think I got a steel helmet, or iron helmet, something like that. Looks like a standard knight's helm.
The elven armor is the best light armor you get for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good light armor until you get to the glass armor, I think, or something like that, which is a kind of a little ways away.
Okay.
I got in a fight in one of the I cleared out just some random dungeon, and just recently I was playing again the other night, and the bandit leader was wearing dragon bone armor.
Oh.
I was like, what the fuck? I don't think I ever encountered anybody wearing dragon bone armor until in previous games, until much later in the game. And you can't make that. That's you have to unlock smithing at 100 before you can even make it. So the cool thing about dragon bone the armor is you can make light and heavy armor with dragon bone and dragon steel.
Okay.
So yeah. So make sure, definitely. Like I said, smithing is one of the easiest ways of getting levels to level up, because just making jewelry does it, and then you can sell the jewelry. That's also a really good way of getting your money up too, making jewelry. And then
I haven't made any jewelry actually.
All it takes is either a gold or silver bar and various gemstones, and then it gives you the recipes are right there. So
Yeah, I've got a bunch of gemstones now. Actually, in this last dungeon where I got Dawnbreaker, I got two perfect garnets, I think it is.
yeah, there's perfect garnets, perfect amethysts. Yeah, I mean, actually, that dungeon that for the Dawnbreaker, that's actually a pretty they give you a lot of money too.
Yeah,
like every corpse in there,
every desecrated corpse, it's like 75 gold. 75 gold. Exactly. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna loot every one of these motherfuckers.
Yeah, there's a lot of those in there, and that's a great. I actually had a little glitch in the last time I did it, and
a glitch in the Matrix.
Glitch in the Matrix, man. It was I got 2 Dawnbreakers.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, what happened was I shot. I think this is what happened. I shot at the end game boss. I shot at him with an arrow, and I think what it did is it knocked the Dawnbreaker out of its
off its pedestal,
off the pedestal thing, and then I defeated the guy, and then I had to go and remove the Dawnbreaker from the pedestal, right? So basically, I think the level somehow kind of made it so like, well, you have to do that to complete the mission, to complete the thing. But I had knocked the Dawnbreaker away as well. So there was one on the floor, and then there was another Dawnbreaker in the altar. I was like, well, fuck. So I have 2 of them. And one of them I put in one of my houses. There was one of the things that you get when you get the anniversary edition is you get a number of different, like a couple of different houses that are available to you that are really fancy. And one of them has a couple of them. They've got a trophy room where there's specific places to put specific weapons that you can find throughout the thing. And one of them is the Dawnbreaker. So that was kind of cool. So I can have a Dawnbreaker with me, and I can have one hanging up in my house.
Cool.
So I'm really glad, dude. I'm so glad you're enjoying this game.
I am. I really am.
Yeah.
And then today I actually was feeling a little nostalgic, so I actually downloaded a game that I played years and years ago. And it was my kind of what everyone else did with Skyrim. This was the game that I would spend those hours on. These would be 12-hour sessions of playing this game and just like lose an entire Saturday type of thing. And that's EverQuest.
Oh my God.
First of the MMOs.
Oh my God. You downloaded a new copy of EverQuest?
Yep.
Holy shit.
Dude, there are still people playing it. I found it, and what got me doing it was I was on a YouTube rabbit hole and saw a thing on EverQuest, and this is why you should still play EverQuest in 2022. And I'm like, that's a 23-year-old game. Well, in May it'll be 23 years old. But I'm like, all right, I'll watch this video. And I watched it, and he was talking about how you can play it and how it's still to this day, it is like even with the stuff that they've added, it's the hard mode MMO.
Oh, for sure. But that's the thing about EverQuest. They were figuring shit out with that game. You know, it was a new way of gaming.
Yeah. I mean, it's not owned by Sony anymore. There's another company that bought it. And they haven't improved the graphics. I mean, the graphics are still 1999 graphics. But there is a new starting area, and everybody starts in the same area. But I actually played it a year or two ago, and had gotten my old character, recreated him, which was a Dark Elf Necromancer. I had gotten him up to level 6, logged on with him today, and because he was still there, and tried playing and went, I don't remember what any of the fucking commands are. Because they're not the same as like WoW or those. I mean, they're similar to a lot of those, but there's so many other things to do, and like trying to talk to people and things like that. So I recreated an ogre that I had made, an ogre warrior I had made back then too, named Cuddles. And
named what?
Cuddles. An ogre warrior named Cuddles. He was like Sweetums on the Muppets, is what I based him on. This big, dumb, just sweet guy.
You mean like pretty?
Like pretty, yeah.
Pretty.
I'm pretty. Although he's not pretty smart.
Yeah, they we didn't realize that until like the next episode when they get done going to the theater and he's like just analyzing the performance. And they're like, oh, okay. That was funny.
And then that breakup scene was just hilarious.
Oh my god. Guys, we're talking about one of the last couple episodes of Critical Role. They did.
Yeah, sorry, we kind of tangented.
We jumped it. Yeah, we jumped. But yeah, they meet this ogre. And for those of you guys who maybe haven't watched it yet, they meet this ogre. He's a cook in one of the pubs that they go to, and his name is Pretty, and he's an ogre. Whatever, through these various machinations and stuff, the three girls in the party go on a date with Pretty, and they take him to the theater, and it's really fucking funny.
FCG goes too.
Pardon? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Fresh Cut Grass went too to kind of observe.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really funny. Here's the thing about the new campaign. It's a slow build.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm not as attached to these characters yet as like I was with Vox Machina or the Mighty Nine. Of course, it's a bit. We're 12 episodes in. It's not
I'm on episode 10 at the moment. Actually, I'm still a couple behind.
I've got the latest episodes like just actually on my browser right now, just kind of on pause. But I think it's got a lot of potential. I think these characters are really kind of interesting, and I think Matt's building to something really big.
I like some of the characters. Like I like Orm. I
like Orm.
I love Laudna.
Yep. I think everybody loves Laudna so far.
Yeah, I think Laudna's the big favorite. Fern, I think, is a riot.
Oh, Fern's great. I think Fern is honestly going to give Ashley really the chance to really stretch her legs. As a gamer, as a role-playing gamer, even as an actress, I think she's really gonna give her a lot of opportunity.
Ashton, I'm not sure about. Fresh Cut Grass, I could do without. Imogen seems to be pretty cool.
I think they're building Imogen up to be the leader of the party. She's going to be, and I think we're going to see her grow a lot as a character, as a person, kind of like the way Keyleth grew.
Yeah, I think Chutney's funny too.
I think Chutney's funny, but I'm not a big fan of Chutney.
I like the way that Travis has played him so far. Mm-hmm. I think it's been kind of entertaining, just playing that old man type of thing, playing it up.
Yeah. I think it has been funny, but I'm just not a big. I don't know. It just seems kind of aggressive and kind of angry at times, and it's almost like Travis is really trying to be the funny guy this time around, instead of being the big dumb guy the first time, and then to trying to be this. He was kind of the straight man. I mean, Ford was very much kind of the straight man in the previous one. I mean, everybody else made the jokes and stuff around him. He didn't. So I think he's trying a little too hard. But I that being said, I don't dislike any of the characters. I just think that there's some that I like more than others. I like the fact that Fresh Cut Grass is not like Sam is not using, like, he was such a troublemaker with both Scanlan and Not, that this character is actually pretty different for him, so we'll see. And I don't know, but I think they're really building to something. So, but it has been a much slower build. Like almost immediately everybody the Mighty Nine everybody loved the Mighty Nine right away. So whereas this one, it's a little more of a build. So we'll see. But we digressed. EverQuest. So you are getting a kick out of playing it again.
Yeah, it's different. One of the things that I found though, and this kind of drives me nuts, I either have to play it on my smaller monitor, which is off to my right, which is not the one that I use for anything except for usually like having like Google up on or things like that. It's my search one. or I have to play it in a windowed mode where it doesn't take up the full screen on my big monitor because it's not capable of actually being
Utilizing
that
the full
screen.
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I can try and play around with the settings, but to do that, you actually have to go in and while you're playing, do a / command on in the chat window to get it to actually change, and you have to tell it what you want it to be set at. Like if you want it set to 1920 by 1080, you have to do like / something like window size or something like that, 1920 1080, and then it'll change it to that size. There's no like settings thing where you can go in and just change it.
Okay.
You actually have to do like actual like command line commands. So we'll see. I don't know how much I'll play it, but it's one of those where I love that game. I played it for 6 years, I think it was. I started I played it for 7 years because I started in 1999 when it came out. About 6 months after it came out is when I started playing. And then played it all the way up to like 2006 or so.
I never got into that game, mainly because I was just kind of like, I think I was playing other things at that point, and I just was like, let's see, I'm trying to think. The game came out in when? 99?
99.
I did have a computer. I think it was just, I wasn't into the MMO thing yet. Like the first MMO I played, I got into the City of Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't get into like Ultima Online, or I didn't get into Everquest, and particularly because they immediately started calling it Evercrack.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, we used to call it that all the time.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like, I don't know if I want to get into something that they're already calling addicting. So, but I get it. I have City Heroes back on my computer, and I haven't played it a whole lot of late, but I still pull it up, and people are still playing it. It's not. Apparently, it has dropped off. Some of the initial players and stuff have dropped off, but it's still funding itself every month. It costs about $5,000 every month for the server space and everything, and the fans are there enough to fund it. So, cool.
That is cool.
So what else was going on this week for you?
That was about it. That was the big thing. We had our game since the last we talked.
We did have game. Pretty fun.
Yeah.
We got into a couple of combats that were like, they were great, and I know they ended up being, I think, a little less challenging than you expected them to be.
Well,
because we got some real lucky rolls there.
Yeah, well, not just lucky rolls, but there were some really in one of them, it was a really good tactical move.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, we took out kind of a boss that you had set up, or a character you had set up as a boss fight. It was one of those situations like, well, won't need this character.
Yeah.
And you took the sheet and kind of threw it behind you, and it was like, wow, all right, that's awesome. It was after a well-placed fireball and some critical hits. The guy took 90 points of damage in 2 attacks.
Well, no, it was more than that, because Bob had 3 attacks in the first round, and he critted on 1.
Right.
And then he also got hit with a fireball at the same in that same round. So he actually took 4 attacks. And he took 90 points of damage.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, and then there was another like fight that happened, I think, that ended up being over a little quicker than I think.
Well, the hill giant fight. with
the hill giant.
that was the one that was the tactical
That's
thing.
right.
That was the banishment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rich's character used
Octavian saves the day again.
Used banishment, got rid of one of the hill giants that we were fighting so that we could concentrate on just the one and take him out, and then get ready for the second one to when he came back from the banishment spell. And we just beat him down. And that was pretty fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. So good game though. It was a lot of fun. We're still in Castle Greyhawk. We're just like killing it. It's great.
Yeah, now we'll see if you guys can actually get a long rest.
Right. Exactly. That's setting up lots of like watches and whatnot, making sure people
random encounters, baby.
Yeah, sleep in our armor.
Which, if you sleep in your armor, you don't get a long rest.
Don't get a long rest. Yeah, I know.
Well, if it's heavy armor.
Heavy armor.
Light armor you can sleep in.
Right. That would be me. I've got a heavy and medium. You have to take off. So
hey, CD, thanks for the resub.
Hey, great.
5 months straight.
Hey, wow, that's amazing. Sorry, I'm just munching on these peanuts here. I gotta set them aside. Well, I had a cool, interesting week. We did have game. We did also, like I said last week, we sat in on a show on the Liching Hour, which was a lot of fun. It was a battle royale kind of game that Chris and I both played in, and it was fun. It was fun. We played with a couple other people that we didn't
knew the
know,
game,
but so we were the newbies. It was cool. It was a lot very simplified, kind of pared down kind of combat.
Yeah, you weren't the only one confused at first, CD. I was confused at first too. I'm like, okay, what do I do? But we did give you a shout out at the end. I know you said you couldn't last the whole game. Yeah, it went late, but we did give you a shout out because we saw you on there.
Yeah. So yeah, it was great.
Thanks for coming out.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but thanks again to Kevin for hosting us to the Lich, and we're gonna have him on the show in March. I think it is.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, that's the plan right now. That's what
he's gonna be going to. He's gonna be going to GaryCon, so it should be kind of cool to see. He's going to talk about. He'll be able to talk about GaryCon, and which is a huge gaming convention, guys. Put on, originally organized by and named after Gary Gygax, the guy that one of the creators
in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Yeah, it is actually in Lake Geneva,
where Gen Con used to be,
and where TSR got started.
Yep.
So, which was the original company for Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, we did that, and then kind of a typical week, and I had my birthday. It was Wednesday of last week.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. I turned 48. God help me. God help us all. And that was a little weird. I don't know about what it is about the number 48 for me. It just seems like it's just a big one. It's a big one for me. And
okay, just wait for 2 years.
I know. The really big one is 2 years from now, but it just felt like, I don't know if it's because it's twice 24. I don't know. But Stella got me a lovely new robe. She bought me a
what is it? Red velvet, the Hugh Hefner style?
No, but it's black. It's very soft. It's very long. It's nice. It was a nice robe, and she got me a book about because we've been binge watching The Sopranos of late, so that's been pretty cool, and we've been really getting into it. She bought me a book of, it's basically transcripts from the from the podcast that a couple of the guys from the couple of the cast members from The Sopranos they do it, and where they analyze the show and individual episodes and performances and stuff. So it's kind of cool. I'm gonna read it probably once we're done binging the show. It's kind of cool. And then she also got me a game, like a Marvel Superheroes collectible card game. And I've always kind of avoided these because I'm like, I got into Magic back in the day when Magic was just starting, and everybody was like, again, paper crack, and I got into that, but then I kind of fell away from it, and I kind of never really got into another CCG. But this isn't really the same thing. It's the game, and then there's she bought 2 supplemental card packs, and we're gonna try it. She got it at the bookstore. I'm going to try it and see how it works, and if it's fun. I'm sure it will be. And so it was a nice birthday. And then I started back to work this week. And Monday, because last Tuesday I had my meeting with the bosses and kind of did the paperwork on my salary position. And I'm back to work at the parade company, and it is cold as it's colder than a witch's tit in a brass brazier. Boy, I tell you, it is chilly there. It's really cold in the studio right now. Like, we can see our breath most days. It's like, I think it was at warmest got to be 40 degrees in the studio. So right now it's just a lot of cleanup, but I found out about we're going to be doing work for the Indy 500.
That's cool.
Do some stuff for that.
And that's cool.
Yeah, we've got some other projects coming up to keep us busy and then we're going to be getting into into production. Like
something that's like a giant sign that just shows it's a left turn.
He's making another left turn. He's making another left turn. Watch. I don't know, man. I think isn't the Indy 500?
It's Formula One.
Formula One.
It's the Formula One cars, but it's still just on a round track. It's not like Grand Prix style.
I see. The Grand Prix style, I think that's kind of impressive because you got to make all kinds of turns.
Yeah, you got to make rights, lefts, hit the brakes, make a right then a left real quick, that type of thing.
Yeah. So no, this is I don't know exactly what we're doing. I think we are going to make floats. We're going to make like 2 small floats for them, but I'm not sure. We're still working on the designs. The final designs have to be approved. But we also have, thankfully, I've already started getting art for the new floats, and there's a bunch of new things we're gonna be doing, and the way we do things at the parade company, and we're going to be demoing. We've got huge demolition days that we're going to be working on. We have to basically tear down 15 chassis, or 16 chassis or something like that. No, 15 chassis, because we're tearing apart at least 5 older floats.
Okay.
To make room and to because we need the resources, and because we're redoing at least 5 new floats, and then we've got somewhere between 2 and 4 brand new ones that we gotta for completely new sponsors and stuff. So that's cool. And we did find out too that Gardner White has signed on as the major sponsor for the parade, the presenting sponsor for the parade, all the way through 31.
Oh, so sweet.
Yeah, they've at least for that long, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, cool. So it's it's been a day. But
sharp objects.
So I'm tired because now I'm getting up early, and I still not figured out a way to go to bed earlier. At least, I'm not up until 4 a.m., but I am going to bed a bit earlier. But I'm just, I got to get back into better eating schedule, better sleeping schedule, all that other fun stuff. So other than that, the weather was for shit last week, but it was one of those storms that was very disappointing because they kept predicting, we could potentially get 18 inches of snow here in Detroit. And we got 4 to 6 maybe at most. So
we got about 6 here.
which I think we got about 5 here in Hazel Park.
I know, like Lansing got like close to 13. I saw.
Lansing got quite a bit more. There was a lot more in the outlying areas we didn't get.
And they had said the farther north you went, the less you were supposed to get. And
Really?
they actually got more.
Lansing really isn't that much further north. It's really just more.
It's.
I mean, once you get.
I mean,
to about
dude,
like,
it's a ways north. It's like even with Flint.
is it really?
Yeah.
I thought it was more like.
Because 69 runs straight across east-west between Port Huron and Lansing.
I thought it was more like a little more, just barely north of Novi kind of thing. It's just.
Oh no.
Out. I've only been up that area like maybe 2-3
No,
times.
96 actually fades north to hit the southern half of Lansing.
Really? Well,
so
I would be surprised.
But yeah, so what are you drinking?
Tonight, Pepsi. I am actually, okay, so I'm looking at a map right now. Flint is actually substantially farther north.
Oh, is it?
Lansing is really kind of like due west of Sterling Heights.
Huh.
I'm looking at a map right now. I think it's fairly accurate. And it seems to me that Lansing, yeah, I mean it's almost pretty much due west from like say Warren and Sterling Heights and.
Yeah, I would not. It's only like, I mean, it is everything I've ever seen. It's always seemed higher.
I think it feels that way when you're driving, when you're going that way.
Oh,
anyway, I am drinking.
Oh yeah. So
tonight.
what I'm looking at, it's actually more like Auburn Hill. It's a little bit north of Auburn Hills.
Right.
Oh, I guess 69 does come down a ways.
So okay. Tonight I'm drinking Pepsi mainly because it's just I have a headache and I'm just not really feeling the drink tonight. But a couple of days ago, or actually I think it was almost a week ago now. Yeah, no, actually over a week ago. I was having dinner with some some friends at One Eyed Betty's, and I had a Magpie, which is I think from Shorts. I think it's Shorts Brewing. Magpie. It's a cider. It's one of the ciders they do.
Okay. Also, it'd be from Starcut.
Or Starcut. That's what it is. Yeah, and really good. I hadn't had a Magpie in a while. And I do remember having it in the past, but it was good. It was a good, it's very fruity, but a really good cider. But then also there was a girl doing a promotional thing, and she was passing out like tasting samples of this new whiskey. It's called Duke and Dame. I don't know if you can see that there.
Okay.
Duke and Dame. Here's the other side. And it was a caramel whiskey.
Oh.
And it is a flavored whiskey. It felt like to me like a novelty whiskey. You get these whiskeys like, hey, this is apple Jack Daniels or whatever. And and some of them last. Excuse me. Some of them last and some of them don't. Like you might see some of them that last like, they'll last a couple of seasons and then they're gone. This one definitely feels like it might be something like that they're trying it out. It wasn't awful. Excuse me, I think I got a peanut back there. It wasn't awful. It was definitely like, it was one of those whiskeys that you could definitely drink a lot of before you realized you were drinking it and it could sneak up on you and the caramel flavor tasted very manufactured.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't taste like real caramel. It tasted like a
fake
approximation, that being said, it also wasn't unpleasant. It was very sweet and as whiskey goes. So, but yeah, Duke and Dame, I don't know, you might want to try it out. If it is something that you're into, you like some of these flavored whiskeys, it's definitely then would be right up your alley.
I'm not a huge fan of the super
not
sweet
saying you.
whiskeys. Well, I'm just
Honestly,
saying I'm not a big fan of like those super sweet whiskeys. I like regular whiskey. So when you get into those, they can be too sweet. Like we've got one downstairs that's like that. I forget the name of it. But it's a peanut butter whiskey, and it's not bad.
Right.
But it's not something I want to drink all the time. I'll do it, I'll have a shot once in a while, but it's not like I'm not going to sit, or I'll mix that with some Godiva chocolate liqueur and make like a peanut butter cup.
Right.
That type of thing.
I don't think you'd be big on it personally. I think it's one of those things that you wouldn't be a big fan of. But I mean, again, it wasn't awful. I think for other people that are into that kind of whiskey would be really good. So what are you drinking?
I poured myself a glass of tar. At least that's what it looked like. It looked like I was pouring tar. This beer looked so thick when I poured it into the glass. I was like, holy cow. It is definitely very heavy. But this is a beer from Bell's. And I believe it was Pete brought this over on Friday night for the game. I didn't have any then, and I had actually already bought a 4-pack myself. But this is what I was looking for because now, for those of you who are into the beer market and know about a lot of the microbrews, especially here in Michigan, Bell's Brewing just sold off. They were purchased by a larger brewery, not anything local. I think it was, I don't remember where it was, but so they're actually being bought. They have been bought. They are going to continue making everything right there in Comstock, I guess, and continue doing what they do. But Larry Bell is retiring, the guy who started Bell's. And this beer is called Larry's Last. It's, I guess, the last beer that he did at Bell's, and it's got a picture of him on the label, and it is an Imperial Oatmeal Stout. It is 10% ABV. And it's got a little message from Larry on the back, and it says, "I'd like to say thank you to everyone who has supported me and Bell's from the beginning. It's been a fun ride. Cheers." Bell's has been around since, I think, 85. They were one of the early microbrews.
Microbrews, yeah, I think you're right.
So there is no light coming through that whatsoever. I am actually drinking it in a Bell's glass, which is appropriate. It has a very chocolatey aroma. It did pour with a little bit of like a tan, almost brown head. But yeah, it's got a chocolatey and sweet aroma. And then I'm gonna take another sip here. It has a tremendous dark chocolate taste. This is like, honestly, this is almost like drinking dark chocolate milk. It is absolutely delicious. It does have, it's a very smooth, kind of creamy mouthfeel, and but it's absolutely delicious. I don't know that I could drink a lot of these, but this is right up there with like Dragon's Milk, I think, in the way that it drinks. It's got a similar mouthfeel, a similar like heaviness to it. Although I think this is smoother, and it doesn't have that bourbon barrel flavor that they do. Hey, Rich, it's Larry's Last. Oops. I'm gonna bring at least one bottle to Super Bowl if you didn't get to try it at last Friday night, but I thought you did. So, but yeah. So if you can find it, I definitely, and you like stouts, particularly the heavier stouts, the Imperial stouts, I highly recommend this one. This is really good. I like this a lot. I might have to see if I can get another 4-pack of this to have down there. Save one for a little while. CD's got a Mexican honey light from Indeed Brewing. It's okay, no honey flavor. I've never heard of Indeed Brewing. So, but all right. What do you want to start with? We got lots of stuff, lots of TV to talk about. So
okay, well let me just break in a little bit here of this comic book stuff here. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how they made an announcement that they're going to be killing off the main characters of the Justice League here in a storyline in a comic book in Justice League number 75. They're going to end the comic, and then I'm sure they'll bring back the Justice League in a few months later. It's going to be paving the way for a new event for later on this year called Dark Crisis. Now, DC has been famous for their big tentpole events. They've had several of them that have been called Crisis, Crisis. And on Infinite Earths was the very first one back in the mid 80s, 85 into 86 or 84 into 85. No, it was 85 into 86. It was all the entire year of 85. And then there was Infinite Crisis, and then Final Crisis, and there was several other ones. Identity Crisis and Heroes in Crisis. So anyway, so this new one coming up. It's called Dark Crisis. It's the title of DC's major 22 events spinning out of the death of Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and more. That's both the official title and what you get when DC's new biggest bad villain, the Great Darkness, and his minions, the Dark Army, instigate DC's next big crisis event by killing off most of the Justice League in April's Justice League number 75. DC has been building towards Dark Crisis in various titles for most of 21. Following the last major DC Universe event, Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Dark Knight's Death Metal, and it finally has a name. Details are still emerging, but it appears Dark Crisis will begin with a free-to-readers Dark Crisis number 0 free comic book day special on May 7th, and then continue later this spring in a Justice League Road to Dark Crisis special, and then a standalone Dark Crisis limited series. While creative details have not yet emerged, expect writer Joshua Williamson to be front and center for Dark Crisis. On February 8th, Williamson tweeted an image by Daniel St. Pierre and Alejandro Sanchez that Newsarama believes is from Dark Crisis, with the caption, "It's about legacy," and promising a big announcement Wednesday, Friday the 9th. So I'll be following that up, and I'll report back to you guys later. Williamson wrote the previous Infinite Frontier series and co-wrote with Dennis Culver the Justice League Incarnate limited series that led into Dark Crisis and that are described as the first 2 chapters in the Infinite Frontier saga. So this can be kind of a big deal, and the latest big deal from DC Comics. So I will be checking that out, and I will once again, like I said, get back to you guys on that.
Oh, hey, thanks, Rich. Rich just resubbed with his Prime.
Oh, cool, very cool.
Another 5-monther.
That's great. I finally subscribed myself.
Another friend of mine said that he was probably going to subscribe too.
I actually paid for it because I use my Prime one for Critical Role. So there's that. Also, there's a new Marvel character they're calling Mother Righteous. She's their next big character, but she's not a hero or a villain. She is the wheeler dealer of the astral plane. So there's a new character being premiered in some of the X books. There's a lot of big changes coming from the X books, and again, I will be keeping an eye on that coming up soon as well. I did want to talk about real quick. I just started playing the expansion to Far Cry 5, Far Cry New Dawn. It's not quite an expansion. It's kind of a bit of a sequel.
Yeah, it's like the aftermath.
Yeah, it takes place like 25 years later. And for, the end of I finished Far Cry 5, and it was one of the darker endings to a video game I've ever played. And if not the darkest ending to a video game. You're going through the whole thing thinking that like you beat the bad guys and you're like, hey, cool, I got the bad guy. And then Holy shit. I don't want to spoil. Well, it's an older game.
Far Cry 6 is out now.
Yeah, Far Cry 6 is out, so it's an older game. I mean, nuclear explosions happen in a valley in Montana, and which means like nuclear explosions happen. I mean, it basically follows up with a nuclear war. And the funny thing is then the game takes place like 25 years later, where any place that had a mushroom cloud even nearby is still going to be pretty much poisonous 25 years later. It takes decades, if not hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, for nuclear radiation to dissipate. And so anyway, so I was like, wow, okay. And it's a really dark ending. But anyway, the Far Cry New Dawn takes place, and it's much later, and it's pretty cool in that a lot of the weapons and vehicles have been rebuilt and scavenged. So like you'll find guns and various other weaponry that definitely have been built using other items and things like that. Like one of the first weapons you can build is essentially a sort of crossbow, but instead of shooting off bolts, it shoots off saw blades.
Saw that one.
And it's pretty fucking nasty. So
it reminded me. So I haven't played it. I haven't even gotten it, but
Right.
it kind of seemed like it kind of jumped the shark type thing. But it seemed kind of along the lines of the old tabletop game Gamma World.
Yeah.
Where post-apocalyptic type of thing, where you're using stop signs as shields and.
Yeah, it's kind of it's not quite that extreme, but it is. There's definitely been a change. I mean, you also meet like characters that have lived their whole life in this kind of situation, and then you also run into two NPCs, not NPCs, two of your like minions that you can hire. From Far Cry 5. They show up in this, and they're 25 years older. So so that's kind of cool. Herc, if you remember Herc. And the one character, I can't remember her name, but she was the black lady that was a sniper.
Oh yeah, Grace.
Grace, yes. So anyway, it's a much shorter game than Far Cry 5, I believe, but it's still a complete game. So I'm liking it so far. It's not bad.
Cool.
Gonna check that. Gonna continue playing that, and I was playing that on my computer. I kind of want to finish these Far Cry 5 and Far Cry New Dawn. Wanted to finish those off before I got into Far Cry 6 on my PlayStation. So there's also been a lot of like concern and a lot of things going on right now in the video game world. People worried about monopolies happening and stuff. In fact, we even Renee linked me to Adam Conover's TikTok page, where if you remember Adam Conover from the show Adam Ruins Everything, where he explains about how he's worried that there's too many of these video game companies are being bought and then merged into much bigger companies, with Microsoft buying Activision, and Microsoft also had just recently purchased the Bethesda, ZeniMax, which owns Bethesda, Activision, which also owns Blizzard. And so there's a lot of concern that could be not good for the competition. It would be very much a monopoly, and that there's a bunch of them that this is happening with. So there's concern about CD Projekt Red could get purchased by Amazon or one of these other big companies, and then you run the risk of exclusives that can kind of fuck up gaming and fuck up, all of a sudden now, I mean, just like they're saying, like all of a sudden now all of the Bethesda games are most probably going to be Xbox and PC exclusives. That's saying something, I mean, I do play PC, and that's fine. And I had planned on the next Bethesda game. I was planning on buying Starfield for my computer as opposed to my PlayStation, because from what I've experienced and from what a lot of people have said, the Bethesda games are better on your computer. It's still worrisome, you know. So it's something to keep an eye on, guys. It's still something to keep an eye on. I don't like exclusivity, honestly. I would prefer that all of the games are available in all the platforms, mainly because it just opens up more people to be able to play your game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as much as I liked Horizon Zero Dawn, the fact that it is only available on the PlayStation, I think is a bit of a shame, because that means if you're only an Xbox guy or you're only a PC guy, you're not going to get to experience that game. And it is easily, Horizon Zero Dawn is easily one of the best games I've played in decades.
Yep.
So that was about it. I think I'm sure there's some other things that I could touch on, but there's so much for us to talk about in the couple of shows. Why don't we get into Critical Role first, and then we'll finish it up with Book of Boba Fett.
Sure. Oh, actually, one other thing, real quick, I wanted to mention, TV related. The Orville, which is one of my favorite shows. The premiere was supposed to be in March, and it's been pushed back till June.
Yes, I heard that as well. I'm just glad we have a date now. And as much as I wanted to watch it in March, okay. It's such a great show.
It is.
I'm willing to wait.
It's been,
we've been waiting.
What, 2 years now since we had the last?
I think 18 months at least, because we had to wait. I know COVID delayed a lot of it.
Yeah, I thought 2019 actually, so almost 3 years since the last time we had an Orville.
Because they were filming and then they had to stop because of COVID, and then because the show is such a it's so heavy, effects heavy, they had to spend a lot of time. But that's one of the reasons why it is now a Hulu exclusive, is because Seth MacFarlane wanted to spend the appropriate amount of time to get it right.
Yep.
So, also real quick, I watched the first episode of Pam and Tommy on Hulu, mainly because I wanted to see Sebastian Stan playing Tommy Lee. I wanted to see how that was going to play out. And he's amazing. He's transformed himself into Tommy Lee. I mean, he even looks quite a bit like him. And the girl who's playing Pam also did some really serious transformations. She's actually wearing prosthetic makeup to play it. She's wearing a forehead piece to make her forehead look more like Pam's, and then with her it's
Lily James.
Lily James, correct. And I mean, also for Pam's like kind of pencil thin eyebrows, and then and for the wig and everything else, and then also her boobs, I guess, apparently is a prosthetic as well. So it's but the performances are really pretty spectacular. Seth Rogen plays the character Rand Gautier, who was a disgruntled carpenter that Tommy Lee kind of fucked over. And he broke into their house and stole the safe itself, stole the entire safe out of his like garage band area, rehearsal area. And got a bunch of money, he had guns in there, he had a bunch of other things, jewelry and watches, and then the tape. And it's showing how Nick Offerman is in the show as well. It's like a limited series, like a 6 episode or 7 or 8 episode, whatever.
8, I think. Is,
and they're roughly from half an hour to 45 minutes apiece. And it's also, because it's a Hulu exclusive, we're seeing the occasional nudity, we're seeing some very strong language. But it's I gotta admit, for a show based on what was considered like the beginnings, some of the earliest points of trash TV and trash, not TV so much as like an event, you know. I mean, it was the very beginning of the whole sex tape scandal kind of thing, because Pam had hers come out, and then so many of these other celebrities started releasing sex tapes, or the footage got released and stuff like that. It was also the first tape of its type to be sold on the internet, and at the very beginnings of the internet, because it takes place, I mean, this is 1995. You know, things were kind of just kicking off for the internet back then. It's almost like I was telling you earlier before we started, it's almost like bad television done very well. You know, the performances are pretty impressive, but again, the subject matter is kind of like, man, do we really need this story? But I do think we do, because it was the beginning of that kind of phenomenon, and of what was going on. And I think it's proven. It also started the conversation about how the different ways we look at how we treat men and women in these kinds of situations. Tommy Lee, his career didn't really suffer. He didn't suffer because this, not personally, because this tape came out. I mean, I think we're going to probably see the things that he suffered from, but really Pam Anderson was the one that really took the brunt of this. And I remember it because, I mean, we lived through it. Chris and I, you and I both lived through it.
Well, it was 95, so.
Yeah, it was 95. And poor Pam, I mean, she really, you know, people really judged her.
She got slut shamed. It's hard to say that. Slut shamed. Yeah.
Shush-lamed.
Yeah.
No, she did. And I think that it was the beginning of us starting to realize how we were treating celebrities and women for this kind of behavior, for being, you know, just being sexual with their husband, with this guy. I mean, yes, they had a whirlwind romance and got married after knowing each other for 4 days, but this is something that a lot of people do. And particularly back then, when video cameras were starting to get smaller, people started doing that, experimenting more so with that. And yes, I would say it was the beginning of, not the beginning of slut shaming, but it started to get us to have a conversation about it.
There was a ton of that type of behavior.
Oh yeah,
well before that. I mean,
but it was very visible, and it was very, I mean, it was a celebrity that this was happening to, and so I think I'm going to watch the rest of the shows, and I really think I'm interested to see how this all plays out. It was directed by the same director, or produced or whatever, by the person that made I, Tonya. So which was it was an incredible movie. I think this is really we're going to see how they play this out. It's going to be interesting. So I'm going to check it out, and I'll let you guys know.
Cool. All right. So Vox Machina.
Vox Machina. Fuck me. 6 episodes in.
We're 6 episodes. We're halfway through. We're halfway through the season. We only got 2 weeks left of new episodes. This Friday and next Friday.
Yeah.
Can't wait. This has been incredible. The first 2 episodes, like we said, we talked about it 2 weeks ago when we first got to see him.
Right.
The first 2 episodes.
We didn't go into serious detail because we, as backers, got to see the first couple episodes.
Yeah, beforehand. So we didn't want to do a lot of spoilers. Now it's been a couple weeks, so I think we can talk about those 2 episodes at least a little bit more, even the first 3. Yeah. So the first 2 were pre-streaming campaign. They were before they were actually doing the Critical Role show. And it was a lot of setup, and it was telling the story of basically how they killed a blue dragon. And it was cool. It wasn't fantastic, I don't think. But it was good. And it was a good intro to the characters and things.
I thought it was beautiful at the very
least. Yes, the animation is incredible.
The animation is spectacular. They do use some computer-aided animation for some of the characters and stuff like that. We saw that when they were animating the dragon. It was computer-aided.
And David Tennant doing the voice was just...
Oh, man, so cool. We got Stephanie Beatrice doing the voice of Lady Kima. Various other celebrities, Carrie Phaeton, who has been on Critical Role and he's a big voiceover guy. He also had a role on The Walking Dead for a while.
That's Shakasta, right?
Shakasta.
Yeah.
He does the voice of the king.
Yeah.
We're seeing more and more guest stars as well. And it's just been absolutely fantastic. I mean, just beautifully done. The actor who's playing Gilmore is killing it. Absolutely killing it. I couldn't be happier, honestly.
Yeah, and
with this show.
I know. I think it might have been Rich was saying that now the game is find Matt's voice before they tell you who it is. You know, see who.
Well, the funny thing is too, in each episode, they put a character in that looks like Matt as well. Like in the first episode, the guy that got peed on by Scanlan.
Yep.
Looks a lot like him. There was another guy, the guy that checked in, that was moving jugs of, or not jugs, but barrels of ale, and that Grog just kind of grabbed one. Looked like Matt, the guy that checked in their weapons in the third episode at the dinner. Looked like it was an elf that looked like Matt Mercer. It's almost like kind of fun thing that the animators kind of slipped in, right? So, there's always going to be a guy that looks like Matt. So, dude, I'm loving it. Like the first two episodes, like you had said, you know, not the best, but still a lot of fun. And a good deal of setup, introducing the characters to the audience. Episode 3
starts the Briarwood arc.
Now, if you know what you know about the story and the game and the original show, they're making a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
Because they got into Craghammer, they did the whole Craghammer arc. And then they got home and there's some other things happened.
They went over to they also did the that one city. They took the skyship over to the only city that was left after the cataclysm. Vasselheim. Yeah. They did the whole Vasselheim thing
too. The Holy City.
The Holy City. Yeah.
Yeah, so they did a bunch of things with Vasselheim. They actually went up several levels before they got they got into the Briarwood arc. And so now they're getting into the Briarwood arc a little bit earlier in their kind of their development as characters.
And one of the things I have to say
that being said, still fucking awesome.
It is. And the thing is that watching it this way, it seems like things are happening quicker.
Yeah.
Because it's a half an hour show versus a 3-hour long show. And still, I mean, the Briarwood arc was only like 4 or 5 sessions, I think.
No, I think it was a little longer than that. Might have been as many as 8.
I don't think it was that long. But it didn't last as long as Renee just got through it, and she was even saying how few episodes it actually is. But it's still absolutely, I think, brilliant the way they're doing it and pulling it right from the game. I mean, the shit that's going on, like that fight in the castle. When that first fight when the Briarwoods basically put Uriel under their spell.
Right. And then they get the Briarwoods are fighting Vox Machina out in the courtyard, and you get to see like spells and different things happen in the game happening in the show itself, and you can recognize it. You know, like we've talked, like when Pike casts like holy weapon or whatever it is on Grog on his I think, or was it just bless? I don't know, whatever she did. So it's like kind of we used to see that in the game. I think in the second campaign where Bo would cast holy weapon on Bo's fists.
Yeah.
And I think that's what she did to Grog. Pike cast Holy Weapon on his axe, and then he was able to go up against Cyrus Briarwood a little bit more, who had that nasty fucking sword. And that sword,
Craven Edge.
Craven Edge, right? As he's cutting Grog, and Grog is raging, so he's just like right through it. It's absorbing the blood.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. That's how I pictured it in the game itself, because it was absorbing the blood, and it was getting bigger, and it was getting more powerful, and it was getting strong. And you're like, fuck me.
You're getting ahead of us, Rich. I don't know we're going to talk about those episodes yet. The 4, 5, and 6. Because there were some Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, so that's one of the Easter eggs we can talk about now is in the first couple episodes when they go to Gilmore's shop and a bunch of things start appearing, one of which is a book that appears on a shelf, and it's open, actually. It's on like a holder, and it's Tusk Love. Yeah. And Pike stops and looks at it.
Yeah, and she kind of pages through it a little bit or something. I lost my shit. I lost my shit. Because Tusk Love was a callback to Campaign 2. It was a book that Jester discovered in a bookstore, and she just fell in love with it. Because one of the main characters, is a tiefling that falls in love with a half-orc.
Oscar.
Oh, Oscar. And yes, the character's name was Oscar. He was the half-orc. And
the dashing half-orc.
Yeah, and although I believe the tiefling was not blue like Jester was, she associated very much with what was going on.
Well, and on the cover of the book, it is a blue tiefling.
It is a blue tiefling on the cover of the book. Yeah. And the cool thing is the Tusk Love becomes a through point with several points throughout the entire second.
And that was just Liam asking. He said he was looking for smut, and Matt made that up.
Yeah, totally. There's a great example of off-the-cuff storytelling that just becomes a very memorable part of the game.
And then you guys made me do that in my game.
We did. A couple of times, I think. So
I didn't do bad coming up with names.
No, you didn't.
But yeah, so there's a lot of little Easter eggs in there. There's some in the newer ones. Like Rich mentioned it, so I'll bring it up here. I don't want to get too much into those, but there's one scene where they're in their castle and they wind up in this room with this big table, and it's their gaming table. It's the Wormwood gaming table that they use all through Campaign 2.
Well, the third episode ends with Uriel, the king, basically being, what's the meaning of this? Arrest Vox Machina. And so they were all, they're taken and they're arrested, and these are people that just got done saving the fucking king.
And we're honorary members of the Council of Teldore.
Right. And we also saw a really amazing performance by Taliesin as Percy. And once again, this is a voiceover performance, so the selling it is really, really something else. And
the transformation of Percy when not the traveler, but his little
wrath.
Yeah, his wrath.
Yeah, whatever it is, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was like a spirit.
The thing is he was basically a warlock.
Yeah,
he had like a level of warlock, but Renee says if you look at his wiki, he doesn't have any warlock levels, but yet he had warlock abilities. He could do the mark. He could.
He couldn't do an Eldritch Blast though. He wasn't like that. He had
a patron, but it was.
Well, that's the thing. Matt created that character. Percy was a transplant from Pathfinder, and Matt created the gunslinger class, or took the gunslinger class, and they had to kind of recreate it for 5e. And so there were some liberties taken with that character, for sure, which was cool because
that's the way all of Taliesin's characters, pretty much all of Taliesin's characters are like that. Like the Blood Hunter was created for him. The And this character he's playing now, I think, is a variation that was created for him.
Possibly. I mean, Caduceus was just, I think, was more or less a standard cleric.
Well, he was a
But
grave cleric, which was a newer cleric, but that's a cool, that the grave clerics are actually cool.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I'm just saying he wasn't Caduceus, other than like the race, because Firbolgs were something that Matt had kind of worked in.
Actually, they're playable in Volos.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay. But even so,
they came in with the SMR
and
a few of the other races.
It's still a relatively new character class too. I mean, it wasn't in 3rd edition or 4th edition or any of that. So.
No, that came out with Xanathar's Guide, which had come out only a few months before they started playing that campaign.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. I mean, Firbolgs before this, I had understood them to be like they were a giant race. They were nasty. They were usually off. I think they sometimes had 2 heads. I mean, they were a completely different character or creature. Anyway, yeah.
But seeing Percy's Wrath come out, and then every time that he gets into it, the Plague Doctor mask just appears on his face.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was a really cool thing. We also have gotten to see, as we get into the episodes and stuff, we see a little bit about his pepper box, the names of the revenge names on it.
Well, and that same thing though, we see
on the barrel.
We see in that scene you're talking about where Percy really goes mad. And he's basically torturing that guy that works for the Briarwoods, just blows his hand off. That
servant, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it shocked the other members of the party. They'd never seen him react that way before. So that was really wild. We also see, we see him confront the Briarwoods during dessert, I mean, so that was pretty cool. I also like the touch of the fact that Scanlan actually was not in that fight. He was still in the party, distracting the party and doing a song or whatever. And
I like how they're doing some of that stuff. They're keeping it true to what was in the game. Like when in the later episodes, in these next episodes, when they go off to Whitestone, Pike doesn't go with them.
Pike is not there, right? No, because Ashley wasn't there.
Because she had gotten her gig on Blind Spot.
Yeah, I think
was going to be in New York.
So, but then Ashley was able to come back at various times. She would Skype in or she would do whatever. And they played it off. And it should be interesting how they do this. But they played it off where she was there spiritually. And she was like, it was like ascending. Yeah. And she was there physically, but not physically, So it could be interesting how they play this off, if they just teleport her in or if she suddenly shows up, or I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah. So I don't want to get too much more into the next episodes. We'll talk about those next week. But just say that I'll just say that I think they're doing a phenomenal job, and
absolutely
the way that they're playing the characters and the things that they're showing in there outside of like the fights and things like that, I think have been fantastic.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see what they're going to do for season 2.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Season 1 isn't even over yet, and I'm already chomping at the bit for season 2.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I was talking with Renee, and I'm like, what do you think it's going to be? Do you think they're going to do the Chroma Conclave? Will they jump to the end and finish off the whole Vecna thing? What are they going to do?
I think they've got so much story to tell. If they jump immediately to the end game, they're doing a disservice to the Chroma Conclave and all that other story that came before it. Because there was some amazing shit that happened during the Chroma Conclave.
Yeah, but can they do the Chroma Conclave in 12 episodes?
Yeah, probably. I mean, they'll have to cut a lot, but yeah, I think so. And then have a third season where they go up against Vecna. And then after that, if it goes to 4 seasons, then they can get into campaign 2.
Yeah.
Because Because that's the thing. I also saw an article saying, or like a YouTube thing saying that Critical Role is what we as fantasy fans really need, particularly for fantasy adult animation,
Mm-hmm.
because it is the perfect blending of mature storytelling even though it's kind of immature at times, mature storytelling in the fantasy genre.
Whatever Scanlan talks.
Exactly. But it's mature storytelling in the fantasy genre within that's animated. I mean, this is almost unheard of, you know. I mean, fantasy wasn't even treated seriously as a genre in movies and television until Lord of the Rings. Once Lord of the Rings came out, they finally started treating fantasy as a serious thing. You know, thanks to Game of Thrones and now Wheel of Time and some of these other newer things that are coming out, we actually have. I mean, as much as I liked Hercules and Xena, it was not really considered on the same level as Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones got Emmy nominations and got recognized for all kinds of stuff. Not so much Xena Warrior Princess. So even though at times Xena and Hercules both were excellent television.
Yeah, just one more thing on the first two episodes. When they go to Krieg's place and the carpet's there with the Chroma Conclave / Tiamat emblem on the carpet, I thought that was really cool.
That was really cool too. Yeah, the Tiamat emblem. I noticed that too.
So, but we should move on. We got a lot to talk about with the Book of Mandalorian. I mean, the Book of Boba Fett. Because
listen, smart ass.
Hey, let's face it. This show has become Mandalorian 2.5.
It is.
It is Mandalorian season 2.5. It is.
As much as I have been enjoying the Book of Boba Fett, I have to be in agreement with most of everybody else that's talking about it these days, that the best two episodes of the show have had either no Boba Fett or very little Boba Fett in it.
Well, the problem is what they should have done is what they've done in these last two shows, which is basically make it into a space western. If they had done that at the beginning, rather than trying to make Boba Fett into this nice guy crime lord,
right,
and actually done him as the badass bounty hunter that he is, that knows that he's a violent guy. I mean, we'll get into some stuff later on that is said, but yeah, he isn't a nice guy. I mean, that's not what it is. And he's trying to be this nice guy, and that's not what people want. They want the badass Boba Fett. So, and I can understand, you know, okay, he's tired of being a bounty hunter and working for schmucks and all this, and eventually Boba Fett did settle down in the Legends books, but that was like 25 years in the future. So in this one though, episode 5, it's basically all about Din Djarin. We see him come back. It starts off with him going in and getting a bounty, and he's looking for information. He pulls out the Darksaber and cuts a dude and the table underneath him in half at one point.
Nicks himself.
Yeah, he nicks himself during the fight. You can see he's having trouble wielding it in that fight, and yeah, he gets it. He catches his leg and just gives himself this horrific burn.
Right.
But yeah, so he takes the bounty in. He basically just takes the guy's head and takes it in, and whoever it is that he's talking with is like, you know, sit, have some food with us, and he's like, no, I just want my want the information. And they're like, and they toss the money on the table. He's like, you can keep the money if you just give me the information. That's all I really want. Right. And they're like, she's like, no, sit, have food. Well, we'll get business later. He's like, all right. And he's like, there's a bounty on this guy. I'll take it somewhere else. Yeah. And then they tell him what he wants. So then he takes the money and leaves. it turns out what he's doing is he's trying to get to the lower levels of this ring world.
Right.
That so that he can find where the Mandalorians went. His clan.
It looked like it was a constructed, almost like a Dyson sphere, but without. But
well,
it was.
It wasn't a sphere though. It was a ring. It was
instead of right, exactly. But instead of a sphere, but I don't know if it was actually around a sun.
It looked like it. They don't really show, but it looked like it was around a sun because they had that whole thing where they had things that would move and create day and night. So I think it was around a sun. I don't think it was the ring planet. I just got to that in Clone Wars actually, where they're actually at a planet that has a living ring around it.
Okay.
Or because you'd think that when that did it, you would get different day and night because the planet would be in the way type of thing.
Right. Yeah. It was really cool. I mean,
and I agree though, it moved way too fast to make day and night though. It was like, it's like, up, you got 5 minutes of nighttime. Up, you got 10 minutes of daytime. Up, you got 5 minutes of nighttime.
I noticed that too. It was a little. It seemed a little fast.
Yeah, it was like clouds going over is really what it seemed like. Hell on sleeping. But it was kind of a cool world. He climbs down, and as he's climbing down this ladder, his leg kind of gives out, and he almost falls, and you can see just space below all the stuff, which I thought was kind of cool. But he gets down, and the armorer is sitting there just meditating, and he basically gets down to the bottom of the stairs and just collapses. And she just looks behind and says, "Tend to him." The armorer, I think, is a badass.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna kick the crap out of him.
Oh yeah, but basically,
all she's got her is a couple of Beskar armor or Beskar fucking like hammers, man. Yeah. It's crazy.
Tongs and hammers.
Tong and hammer.
Yep. So he helps them get the forge reset up. She basically talks with him. They talk about the Darksaber and what it is, and
right. And he reveals to her that he has it.
Yeah, and he got it through by Creed, through a fight, and
he earned it.
He earned it. Yes,
he did earn it.
And she sees the Beskar spear and says, "Where'd you get that?" And he basically tells her, and he's like, it was a gift of a Jedi. It can stop a lightsaber, and she's like, "Yeah, it can also pierce Beskar armor." As long as that exists, Mandalorians are in danger.
Yep. And she had also said that the Beskar is not made. It is not
that's what
made
she says
for
after.
weapons.
That's what she says after is that it's made for armor, not weapons.
Right. So she made, which is funny considering that she fights with that hammer and tongs. But yeah. So he ends up. He says like, go ahead and melt it down. I want you to use part of it to make something for the foundling.
Well, he says for a foundling, and she's like,
for a foundling.
And then she does like this is the way. And he's like, well, a specific foundling, the foundling Grogu.
Yeah. And that was cool. I mean, so basically she makes him a tiny makes
a chainmail onesie.
Chainmail onesie, exactly. We find out in the following episode what I mean. That's what I figured it was, because there was a shot of chainmail.
Yeah, and
so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, so she made a mithril shirt for the kid,
Kind of. But she gives it to him, and what's funny is she puts it in this cloth, wraps it all up, and ties it, and the thing looks like Grogu.
Yeah, it's got like it's got his ears. So it was funny.
But yeah, so then he leaves. And heads out. Oh no, that's when Paz Vizsla comes in and basically challenges Mando because she's training him with the Darksaber and basically says you can't just fight your opponent.
Right.
You have to. This isn't just strength alone because he can barely lift it after a little while.
Right. It seems to get heavier as he's fighting with it
because he's not using his will, and that's what the whole thing with the Jedi is they use the lightsabers that are an extension of their will.
Right,
and their
exactly.
ability to use the Force. And this was created by a Jedi.
Yeah.
Who was also Mandalorian.
Who's a Mandalorian who is also a Jedi, correct?
Yeah. Which was a Vizsla. He was the founder of Clan Vizsla.
Right, exactly.
And
so he does he throws down with this other Mandalorian. What was his name again?
Paz Vizsla.
Paz Vizsla. Who basically lays claim to it. He's like,
and it's voiced by Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau, right. He basically feels like, and I would be surprised if that is Jon Favreau, because
it's not. I looked it up. No, the actor in the suit is somebody else.
Okay, because he's a bigger guy.
Yeah, I think he was in the suit in season 1.
Okay.
Because he's the guy with like the big gun in season 1.
Right. And so they do fight. He doesn't kill him, but he does win.
Mm-hmm.
And he's able to keep the blade. But also at the time, though, then the armor basically asks him, have you ever been unmasked?
Yeah. Have you ever had your helmet removed? And he says no. Have you ever removed your helmet? And he just stands there.
Yeah. Because he did.
Yep.
He did. He had to. He didn't remove his helmet at that time, but he removed the stormtrooper helmet he was wearing.
Well, he removed his helmet for Grogu.
For Grogu, right. Exactly. So it was, so and then they fucking they toss him out.
Yeah. Now here's the thing though, and
shit.
this is what I think is setting up season 3 of Mandalorian is going to be him redeeming himself.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they say there's only one way to get redemption, and that's to what it was. I actually took a note. It's the only way to atone for removing the helmet is in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore.
Right.
And he's like, they're all sealed. And she's like, well, you're fucked then. So I think that's going to set that up, is that she basically gives him a way to atone for it. And I think that's what we're going to see in the next one, is he's going to go back to the destroyed Mandalore.
Yeah. And it's also interesting to note, too, that there are other Mandalorians that don't prescribe to the same, kind of things that he does, that particular cast.
Yeah, they are a particular extreme, they're a group of extremists.
Right, exactly.
He also asks about Bo-Katan, and she basically says her rule was was set for failure because she had the Darksaber not through Creed, but she thought it was through right of birth. And
right. So yeah, it was a great episode though. It was so cool. I liked I also liked how he had to check his fucking weapons. Like he got on that.
Oh, when he got on that, because then he leaves. He goes to get on. Because he got on a
commercial. Because
the Razor Crest is gone.
Yeah, the Razor Crest is gone. So he got. So yeah, he got he had to get back to Tatooine. He had to take a fucking commercial fucking liner.
Yep, and as he gets on, and they're like, "You'll have to check your weapons." He's like, "I'm Mandalorian. My weapons are my religion."
Right. And they're like, it doesn't fucking matter, big guy. And so he has to.
I thought something was going to go missing.
Oh, me too. Me too. I think they set it up like that. They're like, oh man, it's because he sets the Darksaber in there.
Yeah, and he's like, I know everything that's in here.
Yeah. But he gets off gets off the flight, has his check number or whatever, and tile, turns it in. There's everything.
Yep.
Darksaber's in there too. And so he kind of loads up, and and then he goes to see the is this still in the
it's the mechanic lady. Yeah, because that's only the first half is that. The second half is him building Grease Lightning.
Is that what they're calling it?
No, that's what I was thinking of, because they do that whole scene, and then I expected him to come out like
go Grease Lightning, go
exactly. I expected that.
Well, basically, yeah. So he goes to see the mechanic. I can't remember what her name is right now. But it is
I can't think of it either, so I'm going to look it up.
It's Amy Sedaris plays the mechanic, and she is a crack up.
Which before he even gets there, they do something that I was like, "Oh my god!" And it connects Fallen Order with the live action series, and in the fact that they introduced the BD unit,
yes,
the droid, which I love BD. BD.
I haven't played Fallen Order yet, so
yeah, BD and Fallen Order is absolutely fantastic.
You know, interestingly enough, I have Fallen Order on my computer here because it was a through Amazon Prime Gaming. It was it was a free game.
Oh,
yeah,
it's a tough game, and it's one of those that I haven't played the whole thing of because when you get killed, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the level, and it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's a bitch. So
and you can't do like Skyrim, you can't do like quick saves. There are certain circles that you can save in, and that's it.
Oh, save points. Okay.
Yep.
So anyway, so Mando goes to visit the mechanic, and like I said, played by Amy Sedaris again, and he was like, do you have a Razor Crest? And because I think he had her looking, and she's like, I got something better. And she pulls off this tarp, and you see a fucking Naboo fighter.
Peli Motto,
that's it. Yeah. So Peli, is it Pella or Pele?
Peli. P-E-L-I.
Okay. So Peli pulls off this tarp, and it's a Naboo fighter from the fucking from the first.
It's parts of
it. Sure. She goes, you got here too quick. I didn't have time to put everything back together yet, And it is.
She's hilarious though. Just
she really is.
You can see I got all the parts, and she starts throwing stuff, and she's like, and it's a nest of such and such. We won't mess with the nest. And just
But yeah, it's a Naboo fighter from the Phantom Menace, and I was just like, fuck, man, that is awesome. And and she even says to him, she goes, it'll go a lot quicker if you help.
Yeah.
And so
he basically says that because it's not a Razor Crest, he wants his money back.
Right.
And she's like, well, while we're waiting, let me tell you about it.
Yeah. Now, see, interestingly enough, the Razor Crest had it was a ship, but it was also, it was like a troop transport that it was a modified troop transport essentially. But it had room in it for like quarters, he could sleep in it, things like that. This is a fighter jet.
It also had places for him to put his bounties.
Right, exactly. This is not that. This is a starfighter, which means it is slimmed down. It is for going from point A to B fast, and it is.
It does have a hyperdrive without you needing a docking ring, in which she mentions.
Right, exactly. And they're even mentioned there. I mean, there's points in the prequels where you see, I think Anakin, or not Anakin, you see Obi-Wan get into like a fighter, like an A-wing or something like that, and it needed a docking.
Yeah, that was the Jedi fighters. Yeah, they all had to have docking rings.
Docking rings. So yeah, it had, and even without that, it was still extremely fast, because at one point he gets pulled over by the cops essentially, and he's like
the same guy that found him on that one planet.
And he's like, hey, did you fly a Razor Crest? And your voice sounds familiar. And he's like, you know what? I'm out. And he pieces out, and he's just like,
he hits the blower.
Yeah. And he was like, and the other guy was kind of like, I didn't hear his start, his,
how did he jump that fast?
His what light speed drive. I didn't even hear it cycle up. And he was like, it didn't. That was just his
sublight engines.
Like his sublight engines, and took the fuck off.
He's not even on my scanner.
Yeah. It was pretty impressive. But yeah, they got the whole thing put together, and it really was like a montage kind of thing.
It was and so one of my issues is, so before he even does that, the like 3 minutes of him walking around that thing when they first bring it out, I thought could have been fucking cut.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm like, that is just too much of him walking along, just the stringed instruments playing as he's walking along and just running his hand along each thing on the. I'm like, oh, come on.
You're not gonna make love to it, man.
And I'm like, you're trying to fill time.
So, well, Bryce Dallas Howard directed, I think, both of these episodes.
I know she did that one.
She's an incredible director, and she is she loves Star Wars. She's definitely been one of the better directors for directing Mandalorian and directing this.
She only did the first one. Filoni actually did the second one.
Did he?
He did 6,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, it was a great episode, and yeah, we get to see this excellent new ship that is kick-ass, and there was also some fun,
very chrome with just a little bit of the yellow left.
Yeah, and I like that. But it was, and once again, we had some really funny moments with Peli. You know, she speaks Jawa back to the Jawas.
Well, she dated a Jawa for a while.
Yeah, she's very hairy.
Very hairy. And I love like when the one comes in after she says that, and he's like, he says something. She's like, no, that's great, but no, I just need some me time now. And she turns back around and goes, really hairy.
It was really funny. But then we get into the next episode. See, episode 6, which I had thought was going to be the final episode, but I was mistaken.
I thought so too, but yeah, I'm like, this can't be the last episode.
Right.
Because at the end of that one, Fennec Shan shows up and basically talks to him and says, hey, Boba needs your help, and
right,
you know, there's lots of money in it, and she tosses him a bag, and he's like, he tosses it back and says, tell him it's on the house, but I gotta go see an old friend. I gotta go see a little friend first. And
exactly.
So he jumps in his ship and takes off. Well, in the next one, they show him flying into a planet, and he flies down, and it's all like woods and stuff. They don't ever tell you what planet that is. Right. There's a lot of speculation that it's Yavin 4.
Yavin 4?
Yeah, which is where the rebels were in New Hope.
Yeah.
And that's actually in the old Legends stuff. That's where Luke did establish his academy.
Right.
It's actually a planet that is really strong on the dark side.
Yeah, he built his Jedi temple and Jedi school or whatever.
Yes. But like Yoda was hiding near that dark side tree. Mm-hmm. That tree that was really strong on the dark side. Luke did the same thing. He put his academy right near a really strong source of the dark side.
Right.
But yeah, so but he flies down, and the first thing you see is this little antenna come up and start going back and forth. And I was like, woo!
I almost squeed like a little girl. I was like, it's R2! You know, and I'm like, Stella was sitting next to me, and she's not really getting into the show. Like, I mean, she's just, Star Wars really isn't her thing, and I can't press everything. So, but she was sitting next to me watching it, and I'm like, oh my God, look, it's R2. And she's like, cool, honey, whatever. But I was so excited to see R2 again. It was really, really cool. I mean, he's the through line in the entire series. R2 was in every one.
R2 and C-3PO were the two that it's the droids. It's the Skywalker saga is actually a story about the droids.
Exactly. And
but yes, CD, we do eat up the fan service. We are nerds.
Exactly. So I can't help it. So anyway, we get to see, Din Djarin. He's like, all right, where is everybody? Where's the kid? Where's
I'm here to see Grogu and blah blah blah, and R2 just basically does a follow me, and he leads him off, and you see like one of those huts being built,
right?
With and by like ant droids or whatever, and R2 standing there, and then just shuts down.
He's like powers down.
He's like, oh no, don't. Where is it? No, don't shut down on me. And he's like waving in front of him, and all of a sudden the other droids come over and they build a fucking bench. Basically, like, hey, here's a place for you to sit. He's like, how long am I going to be here? And I'm like, and I was even saying to Renee, I'm like, that's not just a bench, because when they start putting the palm fronds down and stuff like that, I'm like they're making him a bed.
They're making him comfortable, yeah.
I'm like,
But
he's
then-
gonna
so
be
then
there a while.
So then we see Ahsoka shows up.
Yeah,
And
quite a while later.
yeah,
Well, we actually go to Luke and Grogu after that, and it shows
which was let me tell you, that was some impressive shit, because they basically created by using a body double with a similar body size and shape, and even like, from what I understand, comparable facial features. They created a young Luke.
Yeah.
And apparently Mark Hamill did not record the new dialogue. They used the computer and computer programs and stuff to create his voice.
Oh, that's why it sounded so weird.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking it was just
voice.
him trying to match the...
Nope, they used various different programs to create. Then they used lots of resources. Apparently, an audio book that Mark Hamill had recorded years ago, and just lots and lots of other, just like shit that he had done. You know, the movies themselves, and there was a radio play that he did, and different stuff like that. As Luke Skywalker, and they were able to recreate his voice and make it for this show, and it was so fucking cool. I mean, they're this fucking close, man.
Yeah, and so we see him basically training Grogu, and they're meditating, and Grogu sees a frog jump by, which we all know from previous things that's his favorite food source.
He does have a taste for, green hoppy things.
Yeah, and the frog goes to jump in the water, and he stops it with the force and brings it over, and he's like slowly lowering it down. I'm like, man, it's one thing to eat it. You're gonna torture it too as you slowly lower it down to your maw as he's and Luke just kind of goes, Grogu.
Yeah, he kind of like yanks it from him essentially, and then proceeds to show him the ways of the Force and lifts every frog out of that pond
and in the surrounding area.
Right.
He basically goes out, figures out where they all are, and lifts all of them by touching them with the Force.
Yeah. And Grogu, you could tell Grogu's like, wow.
Yeah, like, ooh.
So they continue their training and stuff, and Luke at one point is able to unlock his memories.
Yeah.
And that apparently he had kind of either blocked out or whatever. Grogu was there. He was there.
During Order 66.
Mm-hmm. And, he watched his classmates and friends die.
Mm-hmm. Watched at least 3 Jedi die.
Yeah.
In front of him. And then they show the troopers coming at him, and that's where it blacks out. So we don't know the rest of that story yet. We don't know how Grogu actually got out.
Right. But we'll learn, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, so they do that training thing. Then we go back, and that's when Ahsoka sees Din Djarin. And he's basically like, I'm here to see Grogu. And she's like, yeah, that's why R2 brought you to me. And he's like, I thought you weren't, gonna train him. And she's like, I'm not. Luke is.
Right.
And they get into a discussion. Rosario Dawson is doing a great job with Ahsoka. And one of the things I didn't catch until I saw a thing online, she even has the mannerisms down. Ahsoka throughout Clone Wars does this like one arm thing where she puts her one arm on her hip, one hand on her hip, and stands like that. Mm-hmm. And Rosario Dawson does that in this episode.
I had noticed.
I'm like,
that's
wow.
Awesome.
I'm like, that's cool. I also noticed that on her belt, she has her Padawan braid.
Her what?
Her Padawan braid.
Oh, okay.
Because she didn't really have a braid because she doesn't have hair.
Right.
she actually had like a strip of beads and things that she
Oh,
attached
okay.
to the chain that she has on her head. And when she actually leaves the Jedi, Anakin goes to give it back to her, and she basically closes his hand over it and says, "No, I can't trust the Jedi if they can't trust me," and she leaves. So she obviously gets that back at some point, and she actually has it hooked on her belt. I saw,
Hmm.
which I thought was cool.
I like the fact that, later on in the episode, we actually do see her interacting with Luke, and we see it like it's kind of that full circle kind of thing, because she was Anakin's Padawan.
Well, she
So
actually at one point says to him, "So much like your father."
yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, that's so funny. So to get away from that, we do actually end up seeing, we do see the Marshal also.
Well, yeah, that's later. But so we finish up. Grogu does more training. There's more training with Luke and Grogu. He pulls out the training droid,
Right.
and they do the whole, like, he shows him how to activate it and all this, and then Grogu learns how to jump and do all this stuff and doing all the
Right.
flips and
Again, there's another montage scene where
Yeah.
where they're going through that stuff.
yeah, and Grogu is getting shot at, and he's jumping away just in time because he doesn't have a lightsaber yet. So he's just jumping away, and at one point he's just like, "Fuck this," and just destroys the drone,
Right.
the practice drone. He's like, "Fuck this," boom, and drops it in the water. And Luke actually goes, "Good job."
Yeah. A friend of mine posted, I've never been so angry at a ball before in my entire life.
But yeah, so then we do go back to Tatooine, and we see Cobb Vanth, Marshal Cobb Vanth.
Yep.
Who
I'm the law around here, these here parts.
Yep. And he well, actually I guess that was earlier on, because there's two times we get Vance. The first time is when the Pike are out in the out by the water evaporators.
Right, exactly.
Or moisture evaporators. And they've got a chest and then a thing of money. And he basically tells them, you see over there, all the way over there to all the way over there is, and he names the area that he's in charge of. He's like, "You see these stripes?" And he taps his belt buckle. He's like, "That means I'm the law around here."
Yep.
He's like, "You just pack up your stuff and leave, and we'll chalk this up to you reading the map wrong."
Yep. At first, I thought we were gonna see him throw the fuck down, like hardcore, and but instead we saw a bit of a slaughter.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. So
think about it.
Yeah, think about it. And one of them goes for their gun, and he just shoots 3 of the 4 of them right away. And the other guy's got his hand in the speeder, and he's like, "Think about it." And the guy does. And he's like, "I see you're the smart one."
Yeah.
I love Timothy Olyphant.
And he's doing a great job.
And I think he's great as Vance. So for those that don't know, Vance was in Mandalorian season 2. He's the one that actually had Boba Fett's armor.
Yeah. He had gotten it from some
Jawas.
Jawa. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so he basically tells the guy, he's like, "You know what? You can go as long as you tell your bosses that the spice does not come through here, and you can leave that chest. We'll call it a fine for disturbing the peace or something like that."
Exactly.
And the guy's like, "It's worth more than your town." He's like, "Well, then maybe I'll retire."
Yeah.
And so he leaves it, and he just basically kicks it open, and it's just full of spice.
Yeah.
And lets it just flow out into the desert. But then we get back, and we get Luke talking with Grogu, and basically he pulls out the little onesie and shows it to him and lays it down. And he's got 2 things on this mat. One's the onesie, and one is the lightsaber.
Right,
and this is it's Yoda's lightsaber.
This is after Din Djarin left, and he gave it to Ahsoka. He gave the package to Ahsoka, saying, "Make sure he gets this." And but
basically because Ahsoka tells him it's been hard on him, and as a Jedi, he has to let go of attachments.
Yeah, exactly. And he knew it was going to be a lot harder if Grogu saw Din Djarin. So he said, make sure he gets this, and then he'd split.
And Grogu sees him fly off and knows it's him.
And then we find out that it is, it's like a chainmail onesie, basically.
Yeah.
And Luke lays out.
He's like, your friend brought this for you. Mm-hmm. And he's like, goes to reach for it. He's like, wait, before you do that, he goes, you can either have that, or you can have this lightsaber from that Yoda had.
Right.
And he's looking at it. He's like, but if you choose that, you go back to your old life.
Yep.
If you choose the lightsaber, I'll teach you to be one of the greatest Jedi, ever. Blah blah blah. And they show him this. I'm like, I saw a thing online. I have never wanted to punch Luke Skywalker until that point.
Yeah, no shit. Stella was watching it with me, and she goes, well, why? Why does he have to choose? And I go, I don't know, babe. It's in the script. I don't know.
It's because it's that chainmail would be an attachment. It shows an attachment to the Mandalorian.
Right.
And he has to give up all attachments.
So I saw somebody saying, like, why can't he be both? He could be. Why can't he be also a Mandalorian and a Jedi?
Yeah, Grogu's gonna get the Darksaber. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
He's gonna be Mandalorian, and
the thing's bigger than he is.
But then we got one of the coolest scenes, I think.
Oh yeah,
in the show, and it's back to Cobb Vanth.
Yeah,
and he's out at his little desert town, and or actually, wait, I take that back, because Mando comes out to talk to him, doesn't he?
Yeah, Mando comes out to talk to him first, and expresses to him that Boba Fett needs his help. Yeah,
needs warriors, because he goes back and he lands on Tatooine, talks to Fennec Shan, and she basically and Boba, and they basically say, we need troops. He's like, I might be able to help with that. And he goes and talks to Vance. Says, hey, we need troops, and he's like, now we want to stay out of it. And actually, the bartender keeps saying that too. He's like, Freetown, that's what they're called now.
Yeah. Well, that Freetown ain't gonna be free if they don't start fighting.
Yeah.
And
basically, that's what Mando says. He's like, it's still the same. It's still all one planet, and you really think they're going to leave you alone? And
so, but then, Vanth is kind of like, well, we'll see what we can do.
And then he basically tells one of his people, he's like, hey, get every man and woman of fighting age and tell them to come into town. We need to have a meeting.
Right. So it's probably going to give him an option,
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much soon after he says that, we see a guy walking in and out of the sun.
Just out of the fucking desert.
Right.
And when I saw him, I'm like, no. And as he got closer, I'm like, and they started showing his outfit as he was walking up. And I'm like, holy shit, it is. It was fucking Cad Bane.
Now, I had to have this explained to me because I didn't know who Cad Bane was, but apparently he is a major character in Clone Wars.
He is, and actually they never finished his storyline because of the fact that they were abruptly canceled after 5 seasons.
Right.
His storyline was supposed to carry on, and because when they came back years later with season 6 and 7, they didn't really have the time to put his storyline back in. So I guess there are some deleted some unfinished episodes that they were planning for him that have been shown.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they brought him back in Bad Batch as well. He's in Bad Batch.
But man, I'll tell you, that was one scary motherfucker.
Yeah, he's a Duro.
That's frightening.
His race. Yeah, right. He is a badass motherfucker. And basically he was a mentor to Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And they have they were supposed to have a falling out, and then they actually had a fight where duel. And
he's the reason why there's a dent in
Boba Fett's helmet. Yes, because he shoots Boba Fett in the head. Boba Fett shoots him in the head. And he survives, but when he comes back in Bad Batch, he's got a metal plate in his head.
Okay. That would piss off just about anybody.
Yeah, so, and he basically tells Vance, Boba Fett's a killer, you know, blah, 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 just stay out of it. And the deputy is an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
And gets himself killed because of it.
Yeah. Now, you know, some people were like, oh, you think Vance is dead too? He was like, nah.
Vance got shot in the shoulder. You actually see that you see him fall. And I think it hurt him a lot and probably knocked him out, but he's okay because you see them start bandaging him. Nobody goes to even check the deputy.
Nope.
Everybody's like, dumbass got himself killed.
Well, I said too, well, like, you know, the Cad Vanth is going to need somebody to send the message back to, you know, like the rebellion essentially, or the rebels that are there with, you know, so like I said, somebody has got to deliver the message, like, don't fuck with us, you know, and that's so because Stella, like I said, Stella started to get invested at this point. She goes, is he dead? And they go, probably not. They wouldn't have started bandaging him if he was dead. So
yeah, so yes, I think Vance is gonna be fine. He'll be back in the next episode, but along with a bunch of people from town who are gonna be pissed off now.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's the deputy's definitely dead. Yes, CD. The deputy. He shot the deputy 3 times. He only shot Vance once.
For sure.
But yeah, Cad Bane is a badass, and I want to see more of him.
I guarantee we will.
Oh yeah,
guarantee it. So, yeah, and that. So is that it?
I think that's it. That pretty much sets everything up.
You know, we should probably wrap things up. It's getting kind of late.
Yeah,
it is late.
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah. So, guys, be sure to join us next week at 8 o'clock for our weekly show here. We do not have a game this Friday.
Nope.
We will have it next Friday, the 18th, and looking forward to rolling the dice again. Chris is still playing Skyrim. It's on again. It's kind of, there's you don't always have a scheduled time for it.
No, right? I was trying to, and then it unfortunately it didn't it hasn't worked out for me. I just realized I've got you all.
So just kind of got to catch it.
I was trying. I was doing it at 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday through Friday. And then I actually tried Sunday night when I got home. I'm like, you know what? I'll try doing it at night, and I did it from like 11 till 12, which wasn't bad. And so I'm like, I might start doing it in the evenings instead of in the mornings. But even then, I'm still. It would be when I'm getting home from things, so I don't know exactly. And I don't do well staying up till 1 and then trying to get up in the morning, because I am actually a morning person more than a night person. So it's one of those things. I'm still playing around with when I can actually do it on a regular basis. So,
well, guys, be sure to check that out. And guys, we are available at all the places you can find quality podcasting. Guys, we're on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Radio.com, or the Odyssey app, actually,
and Radio.com.
And Radio.com. We're also available on the Google Play Store and iTunes. So check us out on all of those places.
And leave Samsung Podcasts now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's a new one. We're on Samsung Podcasts. So check us out.
And we are, you can follow us on most of the social medias. We're on Facebook, Nerds with Alcohol Show. We are on Twitter at Drinking Nerds, Instagram, Drinking Nerds, and YouTube, Drinking Nerds. Which, by the way, we are actually, this is something I meant to mention. It actually happened over the last week. We're over 2,000 views now on Twitch.
Hey, that's great. That's awesome. Well, we are very entertained.
Yeah. So, but yeah, check us out. We'll be back Monday for Tavern Talk. Tuesday
Yep.
for this show, and then next Friday, not this one, but the following Friday, for Tavern Nights. So next week's a busy week. Every other week is a busy week.
Exactly.
So I still got to work tomorrow. That's one of the things I got on my agenda for tomorrow is to get the Tavern Night show from last week all edited and up on YouTube, hopefully on Friday. So.
All right.
So
That's probably about do it.
Yeah, I think that's gonna about do it. Thanks again, CD and Rich, for your subscriptions. Really appreciate it. Remember, if you subscribe, you can always link your Discord with your Twitch subscription and join our private subscriber only Discord channel.
That is a new thing, by the way.
Yeah, it's a newer thing. So we're trying to get more things. I want to change like the names of the tiers for our subscriptions to something. I'm not sure what we're gonna do yet, but we'll see. But yeah, so I think that'll about do it. So on that note, until next time,
Slancha. Oh, nice. That was
a good one. All right, have a good night, everybody.
Good night.